Last week, we talked about Broadridge announcing that they're literally moving trillions of dollars in tokenized repo trades on chain already. We talked about the NASDAQ filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission in the United States to have a parallel tokenized version of the stock market. That was last Monday. Wall Street certainly showing us that the back office is getting rebuilt on chain. This week, it is going to be a little bit more about adoption. It's been hard to keep up with because there is so much happening from the London Stock Exchange's digital markets infrastructure tying directly in with a familiar name to most of us here, Archax tying into Hedera, XRPL, Algorand, XDC, and many others. To Curve liquidity, Curve, one of the biggest DeFi, institutional DeFi stablecoin liquidity ecosystems and platforms in all of crypto, launching on XDC in an interview that we just did there, to new stablecoins announced from Tether, as well as a new stablecoin announced from MetaMask, to digital identity being explored on the XRP ledger. It feels like the dam is about to break, but what gives? Why isn't anything happening? So I want to kind of get into the weeds here. There is just way too much to tackle. I'm going to try to keep this video short if I can. Three mega trends are converging across crypto right now. Institutional infrastructure is going live. We're not just in the proof of concept phase anymore. Very obviously, we are starting to see the operational phase starting to come to fruition and real world use cases starting to go live, not just testing anymore. Secondly, DeFi liquidity embedding with enterprise and traditional finance is certainly, that convergence is very early, but it is very clear that that is what is occurring. Obviously, you have to pair that under the umbrella of compliance and all sorts of things, but that is number two. And stable coins slash identity slash AI and all these kind of other technologies paired in are upgrading both composability, compliance, and usability in this space. This isn't hype anymore. Crypto, blockchain, distributed ledger technology is not hype anymore. We're kind of at the point right now where systems are beginning to turn on. If you even look at the news, this is literally just today. Fidelity projecting 42% of Bitcoin supply to become illiquid by 2032. I should mention, I'll give a shout out to the team at Genfinity here. Go to genfinity.io and you can check out all of these up-to-date articles across the board. We do talk about a lot of the utility-driven ecosystems that we work within from Genfinity's standpoint, so not financial advice. Do your own due diligence. We do have media partnerships with a bunch of layer ones here, but we also try to be agnostic and talk about the wider space. Fidelity projecting 42% of Bitcoin supply to become illiquid by 2032. Crypto leaders and U.S. lawmakers unite to advance strategic Bitcoin reserve initiative, as well as a ban on CBDC from what I saw. Hedera adding cross-chain support to over 40 networks with Stargate Finance integration. MetaMask making history with the launch of mUSD stablecoin. Again, this is just today. Pretty wild to try to keep up with all of this. London Stock Exchange revolutionizing private markets with a new blockchain platform, which we're going to go over here briefly. Stablecoin growth accelerating as this was yesterday. Tether launching, or a couple days ago, announcing the launch of USAT. This is also where Bo Hines, I believe, went to out of kind of the crypto regime of the United States government, but it looks like he's going to be working within USAT at Tether. So I want to start here. London Stock Exchange. They just launched their digital markets infrastructure. Not a pilot per se anymore. Already processing their first private funds transaction. Why this matters. So we're talking about life cycle, end-to-end life cycle tokenization, including issuance, trading, settlement, servicing. This is under tier 1 regulations. The back office of finance is quite literally going on chain. Now, there's an Archax tie-in here that I found pretty interesting. You can see Woo Blockchain saying Bloomberg reporting that this is September 15th, the London Stock Exchange Group has launched its blockchain platform, digital markets infrastructure. You see Archax here, who should ring a bell to anybody in the Hedera community, XRPL community, XDC community, Algorand community, and many others, announcing that this is powered by Archax. So really fascinating there. You've got the London Stock Exchange Group tying directly into Archax's platform. For those that aren't aware, we just talked about pooled assets very recently. This is on Hedera, BlackRock funds, State Street funds, and all of those. Going to be going live on Hedera as well through Archax and Hedera first. I think that's through Archax. They're called nests. You can look into that on your own. I'm assuming that this type of stuff goes live on other networks too in the future. But these pooled tokens, as I mentioned in the previous video, enable all sorts of programmable finance, and they enable all sorts of things at kind of the individual level. Imagine being able to pair a portion of a BlackRock fund with a portion of a State Street fund, a portion of a London Stock Exchange group thing that's going on over here, holding a little bit of crypto, and it all paired under one token. It's pretty massive. So, we're talking about blue chip collateral wrapped as a single programmable token, essentially. Now, the other big thing that kind of today that I'll tackle here is, this was a few months ago. Curve Network now live on XDC. I guess before we get way too into the weeds with this, I'll give a shout out to the XDC ecosystem here. XDC is now live on Etoro, one of the world's leading social investing platforms, trusted by millions globally, marking another step forward in strengthening XDC's global adoption journey. So we're seeing more milestones like this across these networks. So huge shout out to the XDC ecosystem. Obviously not financial advice from my standpoint. Genfinity has a media relationship with XDC Foundation, which I'm going to tie into here because we did a fascinating interview today that ties into Curve, now live on XDC. If you guys aren't aware, Curve is one of the biggest DeFi players in the entire world. Institutional grade liquidity, stablecoin liquidity, deep liquidity. And this is kind of paired in on the heels, also announced within XDC over the past month, that native USDC is coming to XDC network alongside cross-chain transfer protocol V2 on XDC. So you're going to get some interoperability and cross-chain capabilities alongside native USDC. Now, if you guys are interested in a pretty good interview here, this was just this morning and just published live a couple of hours ago. Curve Finance plus XDC Network. We dove into the future of, again, at Genfinity IO on X. So please give us a follow there if you want to watch this interview. It's about 40 minutes long. We dove into the future of real world asset tokenization, stablecoin liquidity, where a network like XDC through the trade finance lens is going to really be able to hopefully gain more democratization of trade finance participation and things like that through stablecoin liquidity and through some of the stuff that Curve's doing. But this was a really good interview, kind of a bucket list one. Curve is, you can see here, I mean, they're massive, like almost 400,000 followers, and they're tied into pretty much everybody. So wanted to definitely give a shout out to the XDC ecosystem. And again, now on Etoro, one of the world's biggest social investing platforms too. So Tether's USAT, a US regulated stablecoin. I thought that this was pretty interesting. Issued by Anchorage Digital Bank. Let me see if I can share screen again. Issued by Anchorage Digital Bank, built to comply with the Genius Act. And then you've got MetaMask's mUSD, which was just today announced, I think. And essentially a native stablecoin inside MetaMask, issued via Bridge plus the M0 protocol, live on Ethereum and Linea. I mean, we're almost at the point now, and what was like a couple weeks ago, obviously huge for the United States, the first state stablecoin. I think 7 networks initially, and then they added Hedera a couple weeks ago. I think we're almost at the point now, and it's not to take away from all the cool innovation, but I even brought it up in that Curve XDC interview. It's like there's almost like a stable coin a day. Like, is my local library going to be issuing a stable coin if I want to check out a book? Anyways, why all of these initiatives matter? You have different players in different jurisdictions tackling different things, operating under different compliance, partnered with different enterprises and entities. I do think, my personal opinion, over time is you probably have a back to the core moment where a lot of the stable coins maybe go away over time or get basically consumed into some of the other ones. But for now, you've essentially got Tether, doing another stable coin. You've got MetaMask doing a stable coin, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to go over this too, because I thought that this was pretty interesting. Some of these institutional studies, or not institutional, institution, like educational institution studies, are kind of interesting. This is a essentially a decentralized identity management on XRP Ledger or on Ripple, as it mentions here, a conceptual framework for high-speed, low-cost identity transactions in attestation-based, attribute-based identity. Think selective disclosure, attestations, and this is baked into the EVM sidechain stuff that Ripple has been working on as well. Smart contracts, identity built for speed, privacy, and compliance. Essentially letting regulated money flow without exposing it or the entity behind it to everything on chain. So I kind of want to pull some of this stuff together here, and I'll close with this as well. Huge opportunity. I did another interview this morning between the Hashgraph Association. They're running a $1 million Hedera Africa hackathon right now, but it's actually open to everybody globally. So $1 million hackathon, but they just announced last week there's $1 million in follow-on funding as well. So if you guys are interested in that interview, I'm basically doing an interview every week on this hackathon until it closes. I think there's 2 weeks left for entries, but as you guys can imagine, not only in Africa but across the world, there's a lot of opportunity there. I think first prize in some of these was like $50,000. It goes all the way down to fifth prize and 50, 40, 30, 20. I'm probably getting the math wrong there, but $1 million in prizes for this hackathon. It's open to global entrants, and then $1 million in follow-on funding as well. Anyways, there's a lot to get through. I would recommend Genfinity.io. We try to capture as much as we can. Even I wasn't able to read through all of our articles today because there's just so much going on. But I think the biggest thing is that, I think there's a lot of frustration still. I get a lot of frustration in this space. Why isn't stuff moving? Week after week, we see ridiculously massive adoption headlines. Like I mentioned last week, the Broadridge trillions of dollars settled on blockchain. NASDAQ literally saying they're going to tokenize the stock market. LSEG, or London, Stock Exchange Group, Archax, Curve, Tether, MetaMask. But the market and, crypto kind of in general seems like it's, not in that whatever the YouTube videos have promised you for years type thing. Where I will say this. So my thought process has kind of shifted over time. And yeah, of course, whenever I first got into crypto in late 2016, 27, and early 2017, I had the stars in my eyes still. And that even happened last cycle to an extent too. But I think over time you start realizing we are so early in this. I think the biggest opportunity that's going to happen with crypto and blockchain, and this is just for me personally, is the democratization of finance. And I think it's access into financial accessibility into things that right now the ultra wealthy can participate in. But I think that the biggest empowerment thing from crypto isn't about gambling on a meme coin and potentially getting rich quick. It's about leveraging, number one, educating yourself, understanding your risk tolerance, and then 3, being able to participate in things that only the ultra wealthy get to participate in right now. Most ultra wealthy people don't care about having any sort of cash. They want assets, and then they try to borrow against those assets and leverage them to basically live on their assets, right? They try to eliminate as much tax burden as they possibly can and all these things. And that is where I think the real value proposition of this tech is. I look at crypto similar to how people probably looked at stocks a long time ago. There's certain cryptos and digital assets that I plan on probably just holding. And obviously for me personally, I would try to take my initial investment out of these things. But at the end of the day, I'm not satisfied with a $3 XRP personally. I thought years ago, and I'm not going to get into the ridiculous conspiracy theorist price predictions because it's just not me, but I would not think it out of the realm of possibility to see a $20 XRP or a $25 XRP. I thought we would have been there a few years ago, actually, until all the crazy stuff happened. And if I think that way about XRP, then you can probably make some assumptions about how I think about HBAR and some of these other ecosystem assets. I think it's so early, we don't even know what's going to shake out in this space yet. But I do feel like pressure has been building over this past. I think everybody feels like it, that there's so many announcements, it's almost impossible to keep up with. So hopefully something gives here, because, am I saying that we're not going to go into another bear market? No, I wouldn't say that, because you still have coins like, pigeon fart coin and all sorts of nonsensical things that are skyrocketing for some reason. You still have, Coinbase saying that it's a free and democratic process based on merit to list on Coinbase. But, one of the first coins that I saw listed on Coinbase was a coin called Useless. And you have other coins out there, and I get it. Coinbase wants to make trading fees, but still, come on, guys. I still think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors in this industry. There's a lot of stuff to get flushed out. A lot of stuff's probably going to die over time. But I still think, I know crypto, maybe AI, but I think crypto as a whole, blockchain and distributed ledger as a whole, offers up more opportunity than almost any industry that exists out there right now. And I think a lot of the other technologies that we're seeing right now are going to start converging into crypto anyways, like agentic AI and all these other things. So I don't think that this liquidity and adoption that we've been seeing can stay bottled up forever. At some point, I do believe that something's got to give. And I think that something already has given. I mean, let's not, forget where crypto was a year ago. I think HBAR was probably 4 or 5 cents. I don't know exactly where XRP was, but I'm pretty sure it was under $1. So you can take that with any asset, XDC, any of these assets. And there's been a lot of traction recently. So, this isn't financial advice from my standpoint. I'm just telling you my thought process, and, kind of unscripted here. I am just a fervent believer in the technology long term. That's not to say that everything wins, but I do think that the biggest opportunity here is being able to participate in things that the ultra wealthy get to do right now. And I think we're starting to see inklings of that. The Archax pooled funds thing that I shared yesterday, I thought was really freaking cool. I think there was I did that hackathon space through Hedera yesterday as well. The Hello Future one, I think it was like 150,000 in prizes. Another entrant into that had a similar use case as the Archax thing. Anyways, we're talking about liquidity and adoption today. I do think a lot of the rails, or at least some of the proof of concepts and integrations, have been done, but that's not to say that there's not going to be more. But I will say the ones that have been done in the past, we are kind of at that operational phase too. A lot of these banking entities, traditional enterprises and institutions, they quite literally take years to even announce a proof of concept sometimes because of NDAs, let alone go live with things. So if you can, think about some of the live stuff that we've seen go live, like Regulated Liability Network and some of the other stuff even a year ago that like Quant was involved in, for an example. I bet you that stuff was like being tested out for a few years before any of that stuff went live. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know this was a little bit of a different one, but again, if you want to kind of stay abreast of all of this stuff that's happening, feel free to go to genfinity.io and check it out. And also, please give us a follow at Genfinity.io on X. I think I've probably done 4 interviews this week. I did a Hedera Africa Hackathon one, Curve Finance and XTC. Oh, before I forget, I did the Hello Future Origins one yesterday. I think this is still going on. I have to confirm with the guests, but there might be a really cool interview that ties directly into the XRP ecosystem here tomorrow that I'm doing. I'm not sure if I can release it tomorrow if I do it, but I will make sure I do a video and mention it when I do it. It ties directly into the XRP FI stuff that is literally what we just talked about. I mean, leveraging your XRP, managing your risk tolerance, understanding what's going on, and having the option, I should say, to leverage your XRP into different initiatives while still understanding that risk and everything else. But I think XRP FI is the same way as any of these cryptocurrencies FI. I mean, you're going to be able to leverage your crypto in all sorts of ways, and it's exciting. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will talk to you when I talk to you. The dam is about to break. It's just, if somebody knew when, I mean, God, please tell us, because it's getting pretty ridiculous that all of this adoption and we're still not really seeing stuff. But hey, I'm still positive. I still think that this space is amazing and the opportunities are kind of everywhere. So I'll talk to you guys when I talk to you. Thanks. Bye.